Hello, friends, family. Welcome. If you've come back, thank you for coming back. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Mama Robin or Texas Beach Mom, whichever you prefer. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Anyhow, if we know what day it is, it's Watts Wednesday. Before I get into it, I do want to apologize. I was going to take a shower and fix my hair and do a little makeup, but because I'm coloring my hair tomorrow, I don't didn't want to wash it today because I want to build up a little bit of oil and stuff. It's better for the hair and for the scalp, especially since I'm bleaching. So I got myself a bleach kit, and I'm either going to just do the whole thing a lighter shade of blonde, or I might do highlights like this shade blonde with lighter blonde highlights in it. I haven't decided which route I'm going to go. I haven't figured that out yet. I guess I'll figure it out tomorrow. Because that's not what we're here for. As I said, today is Watts Wednesday, so we know what we're here for. I have finally read and returned and reviewed part 3 of Dylan's book. So, that's what we're going to talk about. Now, first of all, let me say, in my personal opinion, and all this is for entertainment purposes, entertainment and educational purposes, and for the most part, it's my opinion. Anytime I do a video like this, it's my opinion. If it's not, I'll give the source. Otherwise, it's just my opinion. But anyway, here we are. I do recommend that people truly interested in this go ahead and read all 3 of those books from Dylan Tallman. Actually, the more I get into his books, the more I think he's actually a very talented writer. And he has the potential to grow as he continues to write and get better at it. So I wish him the best of luck. I do think, it's my personal opinion, I think they're good books. They are quick reads. Each book, part 1, part 2, and part 3, took me about an hour to read. They're quick reads. They're very quick reads. But they're good books. There's a lot of poems and a lot of prayer and a lot of Chris Watts' story. It's all kind of thrown in together, but it's done in a very good way. So, thank you, Dylan, for that. But it's done very nicely, and you might find some things in it that you weren't planning on finding. Anyhow, here we are, Watts Wednesday, and we are going to talk about part 3. And like parts 1 and like part 2, he goes back to, in part 2, he kind of recaps a little bit of into part 1, and in part 3, he recaps a little bit of part 2 to kind of bring you up to date in case you weren't. But I think we're all pretty much up to date. And yes, before we get too much into this, I know that there are letters by Chris they're out there now. They were written probably 2-3 years ago, and they're out there floating around now. And people can read them. I didn't read any of them. I did kind of skim over them, and the best I could figure is that they're very similar to Dylan's book. But I could be wrong because I didn't read them. But I did read Dylan's book, so here goes. Chris does talk about the girls in part 3. Or Dylan does, because it's what Chris and him talked about. He talks about that night or that morning. So be prepared to hurt. It was hard to read, and it's not real easy to review, but you know what? If we want to know more, we got to do this. So in part 3, he talks about how, in part 2, he talks about how after he kills Shanann, he calls Nicole. And apparently Nicole came over. As Nicole's there, and they're talking about what to do with Shanann's body, apparently she made him choose. She gave, as we all suspected, she gave him an ultimatum. Now, in my opinion, if she gave him an ultimatum, she's almost as guilty as he is. There's no reason on earth that she should have made him choose. But he did, and he chose. She told him his family or her, and the only thing he had left of his family at that point was the 2 girls And well, we know what he chose, because the girls are dead now. So Chris Twats and his skanky empanada decide, and thank you, Kelly, for the term skanky empanada. Thank you. Um, anyhow, Chris Twats and the skanky empanada are talking about Shanann and the girls, and she made him choose, and he chose her. And she hugs him tight, and she kisses him, and she said, "It's okay. I love you, and I will marry you. As soon as this all calms down, blows over, we'll get married." And Chris does mention in part two, or it is mentioned in part two, as Chris told it to Dylan, that he was wanting to move back to North Carolina, I guess, with Nikki. Him and Nikki were just going to move back to North Carolina and start a new life without children. And of course, the original plan wasn't for him to, I mean, it was for him to kill them, but the plan wasn't for him to get caught. The plan was for him to convince the police that they were missing, that Shanann took the kids, and they were missing. And then after they were missing for a while and things died down, he moves back to North Carolina with Nikki. They get married, they start a new life. Whoop-de-doo. And then she gets to give him his first, at least in her eyes. Anyhow, so yeah, he talks about how she gives him an ultimatum. She makes him choose. And she basically says, "I love you, I'll marry you. Just be the two of us, since you've chosen. But it's okay. We're going to be all right." He says, "Well, what do we do now?" And she said, "Well, you're going to take the kids and you're going to go to work." Now, if that was really what was said, that explains why she asked him to send proof that he was there. And he said, "Well, what do we do about Shanann's body? It's still here." And she said, "I'll get someone to take care of that." I think that's where Jim comes in. I originally said in the last one that I think Shanann left in Nicole's truck. And I still think that was possible. But this implies that maybe Shanann left in Jim's vehicle. Leave Jim alone. So he takes them out to Survey 319, and Shanann was dealt with in Shanann's way, and in Nicole and Jim's way, or whatever, Shanann was dealt with. I said that wrong, I'm sorry. Shanann was dealt with in Nicole and Jim's way. I guess Jim. It doesn't say. Just says that she said she would get someone to get her body. That to me means, in my opinion, that to me means Jim. Jim helped out. Which is why Jim is, "Leave Jim alone." Because she was trying to protect Jim. I don't think there was supposed to be any fiery explosion. I still don't think that works. I think that's just too complex for this group of people. They just don't strike me as that smart. But anyway, yeah, according to Chris, Nicole showed up. He got the kids. He put them in the truck, as we see in the video. I believe Shanann was taken out back. I believe that Shanann was either put in Nicole's vehicle or Jim's vehicle, and one of them took her to Survey 319, and I think whoever took her there dug the hole and buried her. And I think Chris put those babies in the tank. This is just my opinion on that, but that's the summary. So if you take parts 1, 2, and 3, and you summarize it, you group it all together and you summarize it, the way the story basically comes out, and remember, this is Chris telling it to Dylan, and Dylan putting it on paper. This is not my opinion. This is not necessarily Dylan's opinion. This is what Chris told him. So this is the story. It's summarized. Shanann comes home. She checks on the children. She finds him. She confronts him about the money spent and the possibility of an affair. She's angry, she's frustrated, she's in tears, she's stressed out. She's probably done. In Chris's words, she had a knife. I don't believe that part. Most people don't believe that, but that's what Dylan wrote because that's what Chris told him. She had a knife. She threatened him with a knife. Like I said, nobody believes that because he didn't have any defense wounds. There would have been defense wounds if she had a knife, because either A, he wrestled it from her, which means there was defense wounds, or B, he strangled her while she still had the knife in her hands, which would have been defense wounds because she'd have been hacking and slashing. If somebody's strangling, you're hacking and slashing at them, trying to get them to let go, stabbing, hacking, slashing, whatever. So, I don't believe the knife thing. But anyway, back to Chris's story. There was a knife, there was a confrontation, he strangled her in self-defense. Once she was dead, he called Nicole. Nicole came over, convinced, gave him an ultimatum. Look, me or the kids. He chose her. The kids are dead. The body had to be gotten rid of. He took the girls with him in his truck, which explains why the police dogs, the trauma dogs or whatever, didn't freak out at his truck. And Shanann's body was taken away. Now, I believe it was taken away in Nicole's truck, and I'll tell you why. I believe Jim may have helped her get it out of there, but I believe it was taken away in Nicole's truck, and I'll tell you why. She sold that truck pretty quick. Like, pretty freaking quick, she sold that truck. It was never, since she was never investigated, the truck was never searched. The truck was never searched before anything could happen. It was sold. That's why I believe it was sold, and I believe it was sold quick, because there'd been a dead body in it. But that's this basic story, 1, 2, 3. I've got, and it's pretty close to the version I've been. It's not my version. It's pretty close to my theory. My theory was that there was a confrontation. You know, there was argument ensued. He killed her. He took the girls. She took the Shanann was taken out back and put into Nicole's truck. So my theory and Chris's story mesh pretty close, but that's not what I want to talk about. I am a little bit proud of myself for that one. And that's if Chris is telling the truth. If Chris has told the truth about anything, then my theory and his story matched up pretty close. And his story on this final story, with the exception of the kitchen knife, kind of matches up with a lot of discovery. Not all of it, though. But here we are. So a lot of us are sitting here that know about this, have scratched our heads and going, all right. So now that Chris has said this, and Dylan put it down in a book, and another cellmate apparently said the same thing, is this case going to get reopened? Is Nicole finally going to get investigated? No, I don't think so. I do not think so. I could be wrong, and I actually hope that I am. But I don't think so. I don't think this is going to get reopened. I don't think this is going to get reinvested. I don't think Nicole's ever going to get investigated. Because Chris has lied, told so many versions of the truth that I don't think they know which one to believe. Some members of law enforcement have said that they think there's more to it. Some have said, no, Nicole wasn't part of this. Leave her alone. Tammy Lee made the comment once, but she believes there's way more to it. And she thinks it needs more investigation, but because he took the plea deal, it got dropped. I don't honestly know. But I do not think that this version of stories is enough to reopen the case. I just don't think so. I don't think she'll be investigated. I would hope that she would be, but because he has said so much bullshit, I don't think it will be. I'm not trying, and that's just my opinion. If anybody has other opinions, you know that you're welcome to leave them in the comments. You know that is a welcome thing. Go for it. I look forward to you leaving in the comments, because it gives us all a chance to discuss it. This is a discussion. My videos are a discussion. They're supposed to bring a discussion forward about certain matters. In my opinion, I don't think it'll lead to an investigation. I would like it to, but I don't see it. I just don't think so. But that's one of the main questions on everybody's mind with all this coming forward, with his letters being posted and the book being out and all the fingers pointing to Nicole helping on some form, the ultimatum. She also told him, let me backtrack for just a second. She also told him not to call the police yet, to lay low, and till they could figure things out. If it hadn't been for Nicole Atkinson, what the hell was her last name? Atkinson, I think they might have gotten by with it. Or for longer than they did. I think she helped blow the whole thing up. Whoosh. But their plan was to act like Shanann took off with the kids and left. And then they were going to move to North Carolina, I guess, and get married. Wow. But this also, not only now do we have the question of, is this going to get her investigated? And I don't think so. But what do we think about this? I wonder, has Nicole seen these books? Has she read these books? Is she smart enough to read these books? It's not nice. It's just my honest opinion. No, she's probably smart enough to read these books. It was supposed to be taken with a sense of humor, but she's smart enough to read the books, I'm sure. Has she? Does she watch these videos? When people post videos, does she watch them? Like I said, has she seen these books? Has she read any of these books? Does she know that Chris threw her under the bus? Is she hiding right now? Is she shaking in her boots? Is she mad as hell? Is she going to try to sue Dylan for defamation of character? I mean, these are all possible questions. I don't know what the answers to any of them are. That's for us to discuss in the comments. Has she read these books? Does she know what Chris told Dylan? Does she know that Dylan put this out for everybody to see? I mean, Chris put it out actually a few years ago. Dylan just hadn't said anything. Now Dylan's saying something. So I don't know, man. I think that's what our discussion is today. Number one, will the discovery of this information be enough to reopen the case and get Nicole at the very least investigated again? And question number two, does Nicole know these books exist? She read them? What's she thinking and feeling right now? Is she scared? Is she angry? I don't know, Nicole. If you're out there somewhere, what do you think about these books, Nicole? Be nice and leave your opinion in the comments, Nicole. Anyway, I do believe that's it for right now. If something comes up, I'll let you know. I always do shorts or something when I got something. Sometimes I do a second video. Sometimes I've got shorts. But that's it. That's all 3 parts. Now, I do believe there's more books coming. And I do recommend these books. I'm not saying you should go out and buy them. But if you want to know more, then I would get the books. I think he's done a pretty good job on these. And I think if he keeps going, he has the potential to grow and develop into a good author. And I think it's in him. So, I think that's it for today. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. And subscribe. If it wasn't your cup of tea, but you think somebody else might like it, please go ahead and like it anyway. It does help me get out into the community more. Helps for other people to see me. So I wish everybody to have a beautiful day. Make good choices. Uh, have a beautiful and blessed week. And I will see you all next Wednesday. And if something comes up, I'll see you before. Y'all have a great day.